If your travels take you through southern Utah, you absolutely must detour 20 miles west of Cedar City to visit a mystical piece of geologic and cultural history, Parowan Gap. Dinosaur tracks, petroglyphs of ancient people, and a solar calendar around which an ancient people planted and harvested their crops. Plus, it's simply beautiful and serene.
Hey, Howard.
Hey, Wendy.
Here we are, the Sojourn seniors at the fabulous Parowan Gap Petroglyphs.
This is a beautiful place. Late October morning, hard frost from last night. We've got beautiful sunlight, not a cloud in the sky, and we're the only ones right here.
It's always a treat to come out here. It's never crowded like other parks, but you always get a good view. So here we are at the fabulous Parowan Gap Petroglyphs, a mere 20 miles outside of Cedar City.
This is a place where you can come for its natural beauty. I mean, it really is beautiful. Look at the hills behind us here. But it's actually a great marker of geologic time. What you'll find that Parowan Gap is noted for most is going to be the dinosaur tracks. You can come here for its beauty, and Lord knows it is beautiful.
But it's also a step back in history. Here we have petroglyphs that are dated back to 1,500 years ago, probably done by the antecedents of the southern Paiutes.
Not only that, but if you're willing to go back just a few years before that, there are dinosaur tracks that are all over the place. So this is a wonderful place or opportunity just for the beauty of it, but also it's a marker of geologic time and the things that have moved through here.
If you look at the gap back here, it was actually formed by a river that used to run up this way, and it took it, just sort of chewed down the hill there.
Well, if you want to get technical, this whole place was underwater if you go back far enough in time.
And then in the summers, the summer solstice, which we have some film of that you'll get to see, the sun sets directly into the gap on the summer solstice. And it is believed, especially through some of the interpretations of the petroglyphs, that the Paiutes used it for determining exactly when planting time should be. So as the marker for the beginning of summer for them.
Yeah. The whole notion of using that as a sundial is just incredible. I mean, today we live with the internet and we have calendars and everyone knows whether it's planting time or not. There's just no shortage of information for that. Imagine living in a time where you kept coming back to this place to see whether or not the sun was perfectly aligned between the gap of the two hills behind us. And then and only then could you plant.
And here I am, never knowing what day of the week it is anyhow, so having to use the sun in the gap would be a little challenging for me.
Actually, it might be better.
It could be.
Because we'd know there'd be at least one day when Wendy would know what day it was.
Okay, then let's take a tour.
We're going to do a quick fly-through of the Parowan Gap, where the southern Paiutes carved petroglyphs into the sides of the rock formations that make up the gap. I was surprised to find petroglyphs at eye level and so much higher along the rock faces. Daring contemporary graffiti artists who tag modern buildings have nothing on these ancient artists. Along the Gap roadway are two galleries where you can get up close to see the petroglyphs. A quick word of advice: I wouldn't try climbing the rock face to see them all. At my age, that isn't even an option. There's no dictionary to interpret these petroglyphs, but there are signs at each gallery speculating possible meanings. The starting point is a walkway off the parking lot. It begins with a gathering area complete with pergola. This is an excellent spot to enjoy the spectacular scenery and a picnic lunch if you brought one. The Bureau of Land Management provides several interpretive signs. Be sure to take your time to read them. There's no mandatory entrance fee for Parowan Gap. However, if you're motivated to do so, please consider a donation at the provided payment point. A stunning rock formation is the Indian Head, also known as the overseer or protector of the Native Americans. You might need to press your imagination a bit, but the headdress tail feather helps with this. You might think of Parowan Gap as the Native American Stonehenge. In fact, in late fall, the sunrise disappears into the overseer's mouth, signifying the onset of winter. This takes place between November 6th and 8th, from 7:30 a.m. to 8:23 a.m. You have to stand inside the gap facing east to see this phenomenon. Just below and to the right of the overseer's head, you can see countless petroglyphs. And here are additional petroglyphs. On the summer solstice, the sun drops directly into the gap. This video, unfortunately, was filmed the day following the summer solstice when it was a bit cloudy and hazy. So I've included a photograph of this event 1 year earlier where there's a clear view. Parowan Gap offers dispersed camping. If you're a camper, you know what that means. To Howard, that means there's no HBO. To everyone else, there are no campground utilities or facilities. No trip to Parowan Gap is complete without visiting the dinosaur tracks. Drive east exactly 2 miles. There, you'll find yourself 2 million years in the past. This portion of the valley looks like a prehistoric version of a chess set. The large boulders on the valley floor have cascaded into their current location as a result of climate and weather conditions over the millennia. At one time, this valley was filled with water, and these boulders formed the shoreline where prehistoric mammals left their large footprints in what was then mud and sand. Today, you can walk among these large rocks searching for fossilized footprints. Leave it to your imagination to speculate on the dinosaurs' size, whether they were vegetarians or meat eaters, and how far Howard would get if one of them decided to give pursuit. Here we are just a few miles from the Parowan Gap, and we're at the Dinosaur Track Recreation Site. It's a really special place where you can learn a little bit about the dinosaurs that roamed this area 75 million years ago. They were big guys, about 40 tons and up to 40 feet long, and they were on 2 feet. So sort of like velociraptors, but not as bad.
And you can find some of their tracks here that are nicely marked. And, just follow the little trail. Beautiful rocks. If you're into rocks, this is a place to go as well.
Well, take me on the trip.
All right, let's go.
All right.
And right here is one of the kinds of markers you'll see to indicate where there are dinosaur tracks. The first time we were through here, they hadn't been up yet. And so we didn't even know what shape the tracks were that we were looking for.
Well, does this mean there's one here?
No.
Or that they're that way?
They're that way.
I was going to say, because
there's nothing here.
I see my boot tracks, but...
Right.
Okay. Now, we do a lot of hiking. So this is not a strenuous walk or trying walk for us. Might be a little for people short of breath.
Right. Could be a little challenging. So here's the marker.
Yeah.
And okay, where's the foot?
Well, I can see the foot.
Yeah.
And you can see
exactly
the toes, I guess you'd call them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty big.
That one's huge.
Let's see.
Let's see if there's any more around here. People have actually chiseled off some of the toes, which really... Yeah.
Where are we going? Oh, okay.
Now, for the number of times I've been out here, I've never seen this one.
Where?
I don't know. They're a little hard to pick out sometimes.
Isn't this it?
I don't know. Or it could be in this group here. I mean, that's the tricky part about these dinosaur tracks. They're not always obvious. Sure. There's Howard, dinosaur hunter.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, and here's a track here with the one toe cut off, but you can see it's a 3-point foot.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that what's happened is that a lot of these tracks have been on the, up there in the different strata of rock,
Right.
which have come loose over time and rolled down the hill.
And if you think about these rocks having been here, well, the dinosaurs 65 to 70 million years ago.
Yeah.
So how much of this terrain is...
It could have been all underwater up to those sediment, sort of horizontal levels.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. And if you're into hiking, and we are, although today
Not so much.
we didn't wear our hiking boots and we don't have our poles with us.
Yeah. But, come here and look at this rock. I mean, it almost looks like petrified wood or something.
It does.
I mean, it's just an amazing...
It does sort of look like it's a piece of wood, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see a couple of footprints over there.
Yes? It's something.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
It's important to emphasize that none of these boulders were placed here by the park folks.
Yeah,
This is stuff that has come straight down off the cliff face here.
Huh.
Yeah.
And you can just... This is sort of a place to bring your imagination.
Yeah, it is.
That's really what this is about here.
Well, the biggest hoot is looking at the size of that footprint and imagining what might have been attached to it.
Right.
Right. Whether it was a meat eater or not. That's bigger than most anything we've ever come in contact with.
Well, I'm not sure they were meat eaters, and the one thing about their being up on just their, what we would call their hind legs, is that
For tall vegetation, yeah.
it was for rapid getaway.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Whoa.
So, yeah, more to learn here.
Most weighed a few tons or 10 to 40 feet long.
Yeah.
Size of a...
Oh, I lied before. I said there were 40 tons.
Yeah. But just a few
Here,
tons.
they were the most plentiful dinosaur species in North America, spending most of their days eating and grazing.
Yeah, although they typically grazed on four legs, archaeologists believe they were capable of clumsily running away from predators on 2 feet. Sounds a lot like me.
And they were hunted by the meat eaters.
Yeah. So that meant them... Yeah. Yeah, so clearly they had meat eaters here.
Must have been.
After our exploration, we're ready for lunch. So we're heading to Parowan for one of our favorite spots, Hamburger Patty. This restaurant is housed in a 150-year-old barn that had been used for the sheep market. The drive is quick and unencumbered with traffic. However, on occasion, we've been stopped by a herd of sheep being moved from one pasture to another. Men and women on horseback and border collies guide the herd. If you don't live in farmland, this is a treat to see. To visit the Parowan Gap, take I-15 exit 62 northbound. Turn left onto Utah 130. You'll drive approximately 16 miles. Along this stretch of road, you will be going through open grazing land. Be on the lookout for free-range cattle. Turn right at the BLM sign for Parowan Gap.
What she said. The thing that Parowan Gap is noted for most is going to be the dinosaur tracks and the hieroglyphics.
No, they're petroglyphs.
Step
Step back in history. The sun sets directly